This is Gerald Tovenwas. When we use language and words, there are different aspects that you can pay attention to understand words, differences between words, and so on. One of the things is, of course, how is a word written, because some words have different meanings, but can you see that, for instance, by how it is written? With fine, for instance, you have two completely different meanings. With fine, they all both written the same. So, okay, maybe we can say, okay, then maybe listen to what sounds are used, so that we can say like what sounds. We also have a theory here that says, okay, the sounds here are a certain direction. There's a combination of direction. Fine and fine. There's a sound almost exactly the same. So what is your emphasis here? To notice the difference, it's still the hearing. Do you hear the differences? What's the emphasis? By changing, like even all the letters and the letter position into the positions, into the directions that I have here a theory about it, that you can get more consciousness about it, that what is going on here, what is the directions that are really headed towards in each letter, and how are they combined. You can pay attention to it. You can even theorize it so much that you can even see what's happening there. Is that enough for a word like fine? It's not enough. The basis still is the hearing. What are we really hearing here? Because when you just look at it, fine and fine, it's the same. It's not the same. There are two different words, but you have to hear it. Here, the listening is even more important. And then if you change that into a form and a formula that you can see what's happening, you can do that. But it's still a secondary option that you can have. The basis is still a distinction between the sounds and how much these sounds are used, and then you can understand the directions of these sounds. And this is a demonstration of these two words. For a foreigner, it's quite difficult that you can hardly hear fine, like it's fine, and a fine seems to be the same word, but they are different words. And let's first analyze it from my theory that has a description also. There are different descriptions, but they are really about positions of focus. Each letter has a position in a system of 3x3 kinds of focuses, in 3x3 variations and different balances of these focuses, which I have a lot of theory about it, how you can learn to understand and distinct them also properly, and understand what are the positions and in which position they have in between each other. And it's a learning process before you get to know that, but okay, the resume is there at the right. But let's just say what each letter is in the word fine, and what you really have in there as a content, as a direction. In the whole system, there are two kinds of pushes. So that's the push forward from understanding things, from expressing things, from starting your vision, expressing your vision. That's one push forward. And all the letters have a certain balance, so that the push is biggest in A, and it's smallest from your point of view in the last letter in S. There is the feedback process more important. It's also about frequencies. So the lower frequencies is your basis of expression. The higher frequencies or resonances there are, of course, about the resonance feedback process. So in between that, there are all the letters in that position already. That's not the only thing. You also have horizontal, vertical, diagonal in space, in a double focus in time, and in a triple focus in the time and space context. All that is building up a whole system of order of distinctions. The letter F, where is that in the system? The letter F is in the system in between these two pushes in which the feedback process is already more dominating, and the feedback process is dominating in the results. That's the third degree there that you can see there. It's in the green part there, the letter F. It's the second position. The second position is about how the material behaves and where the material is going to. So the pushback is there from two directions. The push forward is there in two directions. So you want to come to some sort of positions in between the two pushes, and that balance will come out somewhere where you wishes it to come out, and you have a certain result. So in between these two pushes, all these different directions from the material make a kind of distributed set of results of directions, and you get to an end position in the end. That's the letter F, and that is describing very much the letter F. Describe it in different ways, but it all comes down to this idea and this position. I describe it in different ways too, so that you don't use the puzzle pieces too much, that you only uses it understanding of its position in between in the system. And by describing it in different ways, you can also learn to understand its position more, because that's what it is. It's a position of focus, actually. So that's the letter F. That's the first letter. So in the end, you have, of course, a certain direction as a result of what you can follow. That's the letter F. The letter E chooses in between chooses again. Yeah, what is what will I follow here? What is the end result actually? What's the full perspective actually, and what is working and what is not working? That is the kind of focus that I will use here, and it's dealing with that pushback idea, and it also gives focus on that pushback. And it describes the circumstances of what is really limiting its results, because the results also in F will be limited, and there you will try to find out, okay, where is it limited, so that I can find out what I can do with it, so that you can, of course, get some useful result out of it at some point or another. Still the same thing. What is the coming out is, of course, the result that I can use at some point. So the letter N is the next one. That's the result I can use at a certain point. The letter E at the end, which you don't pronounce, describe always a process in the background if you do not pronounce it. And the process in the background is letter E, which describes actually the processes in a time schedule, in the timing, so during a certain period. So, and that is happening in fine. What's now the difference between fine and fine? Fine, it's quite compact. You have to listen actually quite well to hear the difference. Fine, it's fine. Fine is an expression of saying, yeah, I can deal with it. So it's in one go. The A or the AA and Y at the end, and in the oral process is also in the background. It's playing along, and it says, okay, I can confirm this. This is the thing that I can use. That's what the A is about. It's what I can use, what I can understand. And that's the direction where it's going to, I can understand, and I can do something. It's fine with me. So even when you have a push and a pushback and so on, you have different results, it's fine with me. That's the expression. That's the expression which is expressed here. Maybe all these arrows will make it more complicated than this. If you understand it, it's not that complicated that you say, okay, fine is from all the directions, pushing and pushing forward. I can get a direction out of it. That's fine with me, even if there are some counter feedbacks into everything I experience. It's fine with me. I can deal with it. A fine, if you listen very carefully, first of all, you have already because it's it's a word which you can have to put apart with a. You put it apart. You go to look at the differences, and you also emphasize the differences in these moments also from start to finish. It's a follow-up, and this follow-up is also expressed. If you want to really express the difference between these two words, fine or a fine, and you listen very carefully, you will hear that the ein is giving more attention. It's longer. You expresses an attention a little bit more to these stages to be followed up. A fine is not simply saying, okay, this is a situation, there's some counter feedbacks, and I deal with it, which is in fine. In a fine, it's already noticing much more the differences, what needs to be followed up. This feedback process is even more important for the differences to follow up. So in a fine, I have consequences by following it up, by noticing the difference. It's very subtle, but you can understand with the letter A and this longer attention to A. Also with A fine, it's giving you much more follow-up and into this feedback process. But you have to hear it, you have to listen to it. Your attention goes to realizing to what you need to give attention to. Fine. It's almost like it's there and it goes its own direction. A fine, just like in the Chinese scripts where you have different tones, gives you also a different attention. No, you have to pay attention to the process that you need to perform there, that you need to follow up here. That's the same thing here. You need to follow up the whole process of this feedback process which exists. Here you have to deal with its feedback, and that's the consequences even of its feedback. And even in such small, subtle differences, a fine feels very different than fine, because a fine, receiving a fine will not be so fine so quickly as you, of course. With a fine, you have much more that distinction between the before and after during the follow-up of what you think about it, how you sense it, and so on, in that a sound that is used there as well. And that makes a difference. Here it's just an expression of these two different words, a fine and fine. They are not the same words, fine and a fine, where even the tempo is different. You hear that attention where you give that attention to makes already a lot of difference in the meaningfulness that you add to it in the associations that brings it about. Okay, I hope this was clear enough as well. It was a good contribution also to make a realization of what do we need really to pay attention to in words. The most important thing still is like, what do we really hear and where do we give it attention to? And if I translate that thing to what the letters mean, we know what A means. A is the attention, what I want to do with it, I have to do with it, and so on. Fine, which much more gives the attention to these all the directions that are possible, that I can deal with it in just one go, is already quite a difference. You can understand it already simply by listening to it, and the message will be received. What do you need to give attention to? Anyhow, this was Gerald for ÖAV again with Sound Informed website, Facebook page, YouTube channel, some books as well. You're welcome to check any of these out. Thank you very much. Bye.